after Sir leaves. So I request Sir to please be on stage, our Chief Guest of Honor, Honorable Shri Jitendra Singh ji. Come on, everybody. I request Sir to please address the gathering.
Thank you. Director NISPER, Dr. Ranjana Agarwal, whom you heard, and you also saw how well this event was managed and also conceptualized, the entire program. In fact, of the 37 CSIR labs we have, this is the youngest one. It's just out of its infancy, because in the medical terms, first 2 years is infancy. But sometimes you come across certain infants who show early milestones. So she's one of them. Even before stepping out of infancy, she's begun to dig in milestones, and through her creative aptitude, her commitment, her passion. And I'm glad that through this 1 week, 1 lab, which is envisaged for them next week, they'll be able to launch themselves in a big way. In fact, her turn of 1 week, 1 lab starts next week, but she has virtually stolen 2 weeks and 2 labs by organizing it 1 week in advance. That also speaks volumes about her skill and her commitment to the task that is assigned to her. I also have to thank her for a very profuse, kind words that she spoke about me. I don't think I deserve all that, but I like to believe what that she said. Professor Dhar Sahab is our senior. I've known him for more than one reasons. His other brother was a very senior member of the medical fraternity. And sitting among the galaxy of teachers, I can also dare say that I've been myself a teacher for more than a quarter of a century. Though I don't count those years, because then I'll start looking ancient. And there, Professor Dhar's brother was our senior. He was also very encouraging. And Sanjay ji, of course, you heard the insightful talk from him. And Professor Dhar had a very special compliment for him, कि वो बात बड़ी संजीदगी से सुनते थे. So now I learn the trick of being impressive. I think what applies to a bureaucrat equally applies to the minister also. कि काम हो के ना हो, लगे कि बड़ा seriously, इस तरह से note बनाना कि लगे अभी हो जाएगा. So that reminded me of an anecdote, because I'm also known as a man of anecdote. When I just passed out MBBS and I was into the health services as a medical officer, तो तब प्लेसमेंट नहीं हुई थी, तो कभी हम we were all youngsters, just about early 20s. किसी को यहाँ भेज देते. Later on I went for post graduation and all those things, because you used to get job even when you were in the final year of medical college. So it so happened that there was a convocation in one university, and the Rashtrapati was to be there. So a huge team of medicos accompanied him. I was the last, even that 12:30. I mean, the last one is just for running around if anything happens. Rashtrapati ji was Gyani Zail Singh ji. So we went to the university, and the Vice Chancellor there laid down some of his achievements, and then also some of the demands. And one of the demands that he made was that we should have a bigger auditorium, and since the Rashtrapati is there, the Chief Minister of the state is there, this is the appropriate time to put across this demand. So soon after him, the Chief Minister was to speak, and then the Rashtrapati. And I won't name, because, but the Chief Minister came and he said, the Vice Chancellor put across this demand. I want to tell you that I have already accepted it, taken a note of this, and this will be done. So when finally Gyani ji came, he used to be very humorous in this. उन्होंने कहा साहब मेरे लिए कुछ कहने को रह नहीं गया, क्योंकि जो कुलपति जी ने जो मांगे सामने रखी, वो मुख्यमंत्री जी ने तो पहले ही मंजूर कर ली। तो अब बताए मेरे लिए क्या है खिदमत। तो सब चुप थे हॉल में। बोले हाँ मैं इतना कर सकता हूँ, बाहर निकलते हुए मुख्यमंत्री जी के कान में कह दूंगा कि कर भी दीजिएगा। So I think that narrow line defines the efficiency of a bureaucrat and a successful politician. And I'm glad that Professor Dar has complimented by that parameter. Now, because I have brevity of time, so coming straight to this program, the Knowledge Awareness Mapping Program, I think it's a tribute to the imagination and the creative aptitude of Director Ranjana Agarwal and her team, Pratibha Utsav. And I'm particularly delighted because it's been my passion. It is targeting young children. And I've always believed catch them young. This is the age group of 5 to 12th class. I would rather also make a small suggestion which could be considered another way. We could be more focusing on 5 to 10. Because the first corrupting influence on a child happens after class 10 and that happens from the parents. वो सुबह सुबह सैर करते जाते हैं, दूसरा कह देता है मैंने आदर्श उसमें कोचिंग में डाल दिया, आपने डाला कि नहीं डाला, तो पिताजी को सारा दिन वो वहम सताता है। I see so many recommendations कि साहब एडमिशन हो गई है, हॉस्टल नहीं हुआ। Then I tell them what are you going to gain out of this? If you do a mapping of the last 10 years of the civil service pass outs or the successful candidates, you hardly have anybody who's gone through all this. Each coaching center costs at least 7 lakh package minimum. So what happens is that immediately after 10, the pressure is so much, the child doesn't have the opportunity to actually realize what he's meant for. Sometimes he is not aware, sometimes he doesn't get time enough to it, and there's nobody actually to tell him also. So he gets into the rut. And as a result, the aptitude is the casualty, and the preferences that he gets in the career are by retrograde order. The parents set him to become a doctor. He is not able to do it after class 12. Then what does he do? He goes for BSc in one of those medical subjects, biology, zoology, whatever. Then tries his luck in civil services. He is not able to make it. Then what does he do? He goes for a post-graduation. After that, he tries to become a teacher in a college because UGC also fetches a good grade these days, pay scale, or a university. He doesn't get that also. So he does PhD, and what does he do? He ends up becoming a scientist in CSIR. No, I'm not saying that, without meaning anything else. What I am saying is that it has been the trend that the best, those who were meant to be the best became by default. Didn't come actually by the aptitude. I mean, that's not a general rule, but that is what happens when you allow these extraneous influences beginning from the parents to influence the child. And therefore, it's important that the child is groomed and mentored when it is from 5 to 10 years of age. We actually started a mentorship program also in this ministry. We identified certain colleges, we named them star colleges. I have an ambitious dream to introduce such a program in the schools. We like to invite some of the schools which will come forward for this, so that we have kind of a modified concept of the Gurukul. We identify first the mentors, because mentor himself should be capable enough to do the mentoring. जो अपने आप को ना संभाल सका तो बच्चे को क्या संभालेगा? First we have to ensure that. So once we identify a proper mentor, then this child could be entrusted to him, so that he discovers. Sometimes, you know, the child may be meant for something else, not meant for science or not meant for anything else. Like, you know, many go to the film industry to become a hero. That is the first choice. Everybody wants that I should sing a romantic song with the heroine. But then they realize, no, some of them were meant to be writers, some lyricists, some just clapper boys or extras. तो घर तो कह जाते हैं कि फिल्म इंडस्ट्री में काम करते हैं, माता पिता कहते हैं, वहाँ पर वो बर्थडे पार्टी में एक्स्ट्रास के साथ ताड़ी बजाते हैं. So the talent's discovery itself, because sometimes the parents overestimate and sometimes also underestimate. So also So that is the mentors program. And I think this concept of camp could actually address that kind of an issue. And before this new education policy, which is otherwise known as the National Education Policy 2020, came in and very beautifully spelled out by Sanjay Kumar, I think that seeks to correct a lot much, to, if not wholly, at least to a great extent, this anomaly. Because as a result, what happened was that we produced a huge population of educated unemployed. अब मैंने तो बोल दिया ना कि जो रह गया वो CSIR, अब CSIR ने कभी दरवाज़ा बंद हो गया फिर क्या कर, फिर वो धरने पे बैठता है, MSc करके धरना कि नौकरी नहीं है. So we were doing a huge injustice to our youth by making them. The other day I was speaking on one of the universities and said, what is the difference? I said the difference in simple terms is that my generation was prisoner of my aspiration. As I narrated the story of this boy who's to become doctor doesn't become. Then he can't move out, he can't change his subjects. With the new policy having come in, you are no longer prisoner of the aspiration. You have a wide freedom to choose the aspiration and the outlets are in plenty. After class 12, if you are not able to get a seat in medical college, you can change your subjects, you can combine your subjects, you have exit entry. It is something which should have happened many years ago, but maybe we were waiting for Prime Minister Modi to come and give us all these innovative new openings. In fact, about 7-8 years back, the Vice Chancellor of Cambridge University, he was that time a medical doctor, teacher of microbiology, he told me, Doc, if I didn't have students from India, my PhD would close down. I don't know whether that was a compliment or otherwise, because he didn't know that in his country, a boy or a girl goes for PhD only if he has his heart and commitment to put in the rest of the life. हमारे यहाँ से हम जाते हैं trophy लेने. So you get a PhD in biochemistry, come back, become a manager in a computer company. And both ways win-win. The employer says, I have a manager who is PhD Cambridge. किसी को ना समझ ना पूछना किस चीज़ की PhD. And the wife is happy because of big pay packet. So we are evolving as a nation because 75 years is too young an age in the life of a nation. But I'm glad that with the introduction of this NEP 2020 by Sanjay Kumarji's department, a huge revolutionary difference is going to happen. But it is going to take one generation which goes through it and realizes the outcomes of it. And therefore, I think this is also one of the best times to implement it. A, because as was being mentioned by Professor Dhar, also Sanjay ji, Chandrayaan has recently happened. So it has ignited that scientific urge among the youth, including the students in the universities and the colleges. And at the same time, in the last 8-9 years, because of the changed priorities of this government, many new avenues have come up, which offer opportunities also of lucrative livelihood outside the government sector. So no longer you have to sit on a dharna for a 6,000 contractual job. You have startups gone up from 350 to more than 1 lakh, more than 110 unicorns. In space itself, till the unlocking of space happened, the new space policy, which came in just in 2020 when Prime Minister opened it to private participation and to the industry. We have now 150 startups, more than that. We had just 4 till 4 years back. And some of them have turned into very lucrative entrepreneurs, the earlier ones. So making a good fortune out of it. In Global Innovation Index, by the international parameters, we have jumped from 81 to 40. Our in biotech sector, we just had 50 startups in 2014. Today, we have 6,000. Because the huge bioeconomy resource, which is exclusive to India, was lying unexplored. Though CSIR had been working on it. The Aroma mission began from CSIR. The plant genomics began from CSIR. We had the huge resource of Himalayas. Now we are going to discover the bioresources in the seabed also, through Samundrayan. But our aptitudes were different. The livelihood opportunities were not enough. And the priority of the mindset was also different. So now, gradually we started turning that. From a bioeconomy of just about 8 or 10 billion in 2014, today we are 80 billion. We've gone up nearly 8 to 10 times. We hope to be 150 billion by 2025. Our space economy has started showing a fast pace. We are just 8 billion today. But the manner in which we have taken a quantum leap, our own projection is that in next 5-7 years, by 2040, we'll be reaching 40 billion. I mean, 8 billion in 70 years and 40 billion, that is addition of 32 billion just in another 15-16 years. But that is our projection. The international projection, only 4 days back we had a report called KDL report, which is, ADL report, Arthur D. Little, one of the projectionists of the international standards. We said that the manner in which we started fast tracking, we could go up to 100 billion. So my assessment about the international observers is much more than my own assessment. That is the fast track we have been put in under this government headed by Prime Minister Modi. So with all these new avenues opening up, new vistas opening up, there is also a rise in the aspirational level of the Indian youth. And therefore, I think this is the best time to have programs like the one which we are having today, the camp program, and also to celebrate it, which we do by Pratibha Utsav. Actually, what was happening was the biggest casualty in this country was Pratibha. You are adopted a profession when you had Pratibha for something else. So by literally, it was neither given any preference, not realized. And knowledge is not always synonymous with the degree, nor also with the education, as was being. So I think if you are able to actually give priority to knowledge over education, you will be able to achieve more. Some of the Nobel laureates in literature never were graduates of literature, including Tagore. One of the best our political authors in English language was Winston Churchill, who hardly went much beyond. In his autobiography, he says, I went there and my math paper, I was thinking what to write. And while thinking, 20 minutes passed and I find that fountain pen had put entire ink on my paper. So what I'm trying to say is the aptitude and then brushing it up with the right kind of knowledge is what is the grooming of the Pratibha and celebrating Pratibha. So I'm glad that you have chosen this right name, and I'm sure you have the capacity to live up to this. And it has been very scientifically designed by this team. You are doing a mapping of 8 fundamental attributes. I was discussing with Dr. Rajan. I said, this is a beautiful idea. You have the comprehension, you have the aptitude, you have the understanding, and then you are trying to blend it with the modern technology. So you are trying to find out the inherent attributes and trying to skill it up with the cutting edge technology. And that's why I said, this is one of the best times happening. And for us, the teachers, I think we have an opportunity because this is the target audience who comprise the citizens of Amrit Kal. Don't go by those who are sitting on the stage because all kinds of colors are now available in the market. But yes, these boys and girls who have a next 25 active years to put it in nation building and to take the pride of being called the architects of Century India 2047. So we have an opportunity, if not to be around that time, at least to be able to tell ourselves with a certain amount of satisfaction, look, we contributed to the capacity building of all these boys and girls who were part of the camp program at one point in time. And we also happen to be associated with it, either as a director or by default as a minister. Thank you.